The Allen Line Company appreciates all of the dedicated carriers it takes to move loads across the U.S. Stay safe.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Redding.
Next week, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is holding its annual Safety Research Forum. And what comes out of that forum could have a significant impact on your life as a truck driver. I'll discuss that and a request for an exemption from CDL testing rules by Florida that has failed to succeed with OOIDA Director of Federal Affairs, Jay Grimes. The dream of a career behind the wheel of a truck was one that an OOIDA member couldn't shake even after committing his life to the family business. We speak with Brett Robertson, who started out as a funeral director, but eventually went into the trucking industry to fulfill his childhood dream. And finally, it's no surprise to anyone in trucking that the industry has lost some companies over the past couple of years. But Marty Ellis has noticed something that truckers should look for, signs that indicate the carrier you work for may be in trouble. I'll talk with the man who drives the spirit of the American trucker. But first, the news with Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. Our top story today. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has granted a petition from the Transportation Intermediaries Association regarding training requirements for freight forwarders and brokers. According to FMCSA's website, the petition for rulemaking has been closed, and a letter notifying TIA of the decision was sent last month. Fraud is at the center of TIA's concerns here. In June of last year, the association petitioned FMCSA to implement and enforce existing provisions related to experience and training requirements for brokers and freight forwarders before entering the marketplace. Back in 2012, a law was signed requiring, among other things, brokers and freight forwarders to employ an officer who has 3 years of relevant experience or satisfactory knowledge of related rules, regulations, and industry practices. In its 2023 petition, TIA told FMCSA that it worked with Congress to get that language included because of a rise in reincarnated or chameleon brokers, freight forwarders, and motor carriers. However, TIA says FMCSA has failed to implement several key provisions of the law, including the experience or training requirement. At the very least, the group wrote enforcement could help minimize rampant fraud by criminals who enter the marketplace on a regular basis with hundreds of different authorities. More than a year ago, FMCSA also granted a broker transparency petition that was filed by the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association back in 2020. Although FMCSA did grant that petition, it still has not initiated a rulemaking. A notice of proposed rulemaking is projected to be published in October. If your routes include toll roads, the FBI has a warning for you. The agency says it's gotten more than 2,000 complaints about a text scam that seems to be targeting toll road users in at least 3 states for now. But the FBI believes the scam could be moving from state to state. This is a so-called smishing scam, one in which the scammers send out a text message that appears to be from a toll road collection service. The text claims that the recipient owes them money and includes a legit-looking link to pay, but that link is not legit. If you get a text like this, do not click on the link. If you do click on that link by mistake, do what you can to secure your personal information and financial accounts and dispute any unfamiliar charges. You should also delete the text from your phone and file a complaint with the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center at www.ic3.gov. 5 auto carriers are seeking a merger. Proficient Auto Transport, Delta Automotive Services, Deluxe Auto Carriers, Sierra Mountain Group, and Tribeca Automotive made their plans public in a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Under the plan, the 5 companies would become one and operate under the same name, Proficient Auto Logistics. In all, the company would have more than 1,100 auto transport vehicles and trailers, including 615 company-owned transport vehicles and trailers. Former Saia CEO Richard Odell would serve as CEO. Another member of Congress has signed on to support a bill that would guarantee truckers a right to bathroom access at shippers and receivers. Representative Chris Pappas of New Hampshire is the 6th lawmaker to co-sponsor H.R. 3869. The bill, known as the Trucker Bathroom Access Act, is simple. It would not require any funding or new facilities. It would simply require shippers and receivers to grant bathroom access to truckers who are dropping off or loading up at their facilities. The bill has true bipartisan support. Its sponsor, Congressman Troy Ellis of Texas is joined by 3 of his Republican colleagues and 3 of his Democratic colleagues in the House on the bill. New York City is making some changes to its controversial congestion pricing plan. It now includes some money for New Jersey. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy previously filed a lawsuit against the tolling program, citing environmental and pollution concerns. At an event hosted by Cranes in New York, the CEO of New York City's Metropolitan Transportation Authority said their most recent plan submitted to the USDOT includes money for New Jersey. No amount, though, was mentioned. The New Jersey suit is just one of many that have been filed. Barring any new legal developments, though, congestion tolling is coming to New York City in June. It'll cost most passenger vehicles $15 to drive into Manhattan south of 60th Street during daytime hours. For commercial vehicles, the toll could be as high as $36. The idea is to encourage more people to use public transportation to reduce congestion, cut down on pollution, and raise money for subway system and road improvements. Authorities in Alabama are searching for whoever fired shots at 2 separate semis on Interstate 85 earlier this month. The Macon County Sheriff's Office says it happened in the early morning hours of April 12th. 2 suspects parked along the side of I-85 near mile marker 32 reportedly opened fire on 2 passing tractor trailers. Both trucks were hit, but neither driver was hurt. They both called police, and by the time they got there, the suspects were gone, and they're still out there. If you saw or know anything, contact the Macon County, Alabama Sheriff's Office. A former dispatcher for a Florida trucking company is facing several charges after allegedly stealing $100,000. Prosecutors in Miami-Dade County say Gabriel Pluas redirected customer payments to a personal account while working for Transmaco Transport in 2022 and most of 2023. The scheme reportedly included fake invoices as well. Pluas is facing 1 count of an organized scheme to defraud $50,000 or more and 1 count of first-degree grand theft. He's currently in custody awaiting a bond hearing. A new law in Wisconsin will create a commercial driver training grant program. Governor Tony Evers signed the bill into law, creating a tuition reimbursement program for students working toward their CDL. The Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development is tasked with establishing and administering the grant program. One provision in the new rule specifies that a CDL training provider must satisfy entry-level driver training requirements established by FMCSA. Grant amounts will be limited to up to 50% of the training costs, or $3,000, whichever is less for each individual trained. Eligible CDL training providers located and performing training in Wisconsin can apply for a grant. Training providers are required to train individuals who reside in and will obtain their CDL in the state. The program is scheduled to sunset on July 1st, 2025. And finally, Freightliner is celebrating the production of the company's 1 millionth Cascadia truck. The Daimler brand says the Cascadia is the first Class 8 truck in North America to reach that milestone figure. The first Cascadia model rolled off the assembly line in 2007. Since then, Freightliner says the Cascadia has improved its fuel efficiency by more than 35%. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Scott. Congratulations to Stephen L. Savage of Fort Worth, Texas. He's received the OOIDA Safe Driving Award for 20 years of safe, accident-free driving. That's the equivalent of a car driver going 150 years without causing a single accident. The OOIDA Safe Driving Award program is sponsored by Shell Rotella, and if you're interested in receiving the Safe Driving Award, you can find a link to more information on our website, landlinenow.com. Starting Friday, Marty Ellis and OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker, will be at the Swamp East Truck Show. That takes place in Sikeston, Missouri. Stop in, say hi to Marty, and join OOIDA for a $10 discount. Next, I'll discuss how an FMCSA Research Forum could impact your life with OOIDA's Jay Grimes, and Ashley Blackford talks with trucker Brett Robertson about his journey from funeral director to truck driver. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Penske owns and operates some of the best-maintained vehicles on the planet. Our used trucks come with a 5-year maintenance report and pre-sale inspection. So if you're in the market for a top-quality pre-owned truck, look no further. Search our inventory today at PenskeUsedTrucks.com.
Control your toll costs and eliminate tolling headaches with Prepass Tolls. Prepass Tolls means toll volume discounts. Just one invoice for all tolls and fewer violations. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2024 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
Next week, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is holding its annual Safety Research Forum, and what comes out of that forum could have a significant impact on your life as a truck driver. Welcome back to Landline Now. This is Regulatory Roundup, and I'm Mark Rettig. I'm joined, as always, by OOIDA Director of Federal Affairs, Jay Grimes. Jay, how are you doing?
Doing well, Mark. Good to be with you.
Glad to have you here. Now, first of all, let's kind of go over some of the basics here. When and where is this taking place?
Yeah, this is going to be a virtual research forum that will be held online. I think FMCSA is going to be hosting it via Microsoft Teams. It's going to be Wednesday, April 24th, Thursday, April 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and will feature presentations from the Analysis Division, New Crash Data Analytics Division, the Applied Research Division, and Advanced Technology Division. And this is an event that used to be held in conjunction with the Transportation Research Board's annual meeting. For the last few years, they've kind of broken it up to hold it a couple months after, and really kind of an overview on different updates on crash statistics, different research projects FMCSA is working on, and they throw in a few different regulatory updates as well. So we usually get some important information from FMCSA, and always helpful to tune in when this event is going to take place.
We've got a number of speakers this year, as I understand it. I'm wondering if you can give us a couple of examples of some of the people who will be speaking as part of this event.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing from Brian Stansberry, Chief Counsel of FMCSA, Tom Keene, the Associate Administrator for the Office of Research and Registration, Wendy Liberante, Director of Office of Policy, Strategic Planning and Regulations, Ken Riddle, Director of the Office of Registration. Aside from FMCSA, we've got Mike Fox, Senior Highway Accident Investigator from the National Transportation Safety Board, and a number of other folks from FMCSA who are working on different research projects, different statisticians as well. So they always do a very good job of bringing in a lot of different experts in to kind of give specific updates on a number of different topics and issues.
You mentioned the important information that can come out of this, and I know that they already have some topics we know that they're going to discuss. Can you give us a few examples of what types of issues we expect to come up at this meeting?
Yeah, kind of one that I'm looking forward to a little bit is another update on FMCSA's registration system modernization and fraud prevention. And this is going to take place on Wednesday afternoon. And I think we heard a little bit about this at Matt's a few weeks ago, and what FMCSA is kind of undertaking to update motor carrier broker registration, and we're expecting a proposed rulemaking in May, and really looking forward again to hearing how FMCSA is prioritizing broker fraud, and how this proposed updated modernized system is going to be able to help them in identifying and addressing fraud prevention as we continue to see that escalate, especially for small business truckers who have been victimized by broker fraud throughout the past couple of years. Also got some important updates, kind of an overall regulatory update, truck parking research, drug and alcohol clearinghouse, and of course, advanced technology is always something to keep an eye out for in this presentation.
A lot of research, we've talked about TRB, and you mentioned this used to be with TRB.
Right.
And we've said before, a lot of the research that starts there at TRB, and I would assume with this as well, can end up turning in the long term after a lot of process into regulation. Do we have any idea what sort of things have resulted from this forum in the past, or topics discussed there that eventually did become the topic of some regulation?
Not specifically, but I know in the past they've talked about detention time studies that have been required by Congress. Hearing about different vision and health regulations that might need to be modernized, and some of the research that's gone into there that is actually, I think we have seen in the past couple of years, vision standards be amended based in large part of the research. So it's a combination of stuff that's come through different policy pieces from Congress, other stuff that FMCSA has prioritized. And as you mentioned, down the line, a lot of this, does have the chance of becoming either adopted by FMCSA, DOT, and becoming part or entirety of either modified or new regulations that go on the books.
In going over some of the topics earlier, you mentioned things like, for example, advanced technology. And obviously that's something that OOIDA likes to keep an eye on because of all of the mandates that have come out or that we expect may come out. What are some of the specific concerns that OOIDA has or things that the association is looking out for at this year's forum?
Yeah, certainly this broad development of either driverless or driver assistance systems such as automatic emergency braking, do raise our concerns as are these performing as safe as the human driver? From drivers who have experience using some of these technologies, it's pretty clear that they shouldn't necessarily be mandated. We've also got one of the topics we're going to be keeping an eye out is electronic in-motion truck inspections and how those might work for advanced levels of trucks and different vehicles, and safety impacts of states' roadside technology deployments. We hear a lot about concerns, or a lot of law enforcement wanting to have more virtual electronic inspections. That led to a proposal to have a unique electronic identifier on every truck out there. And we push back against that. It doesn't seem like that is on top of the priority list for FMCSA right now, in large part due to the opposition that drivers raised a couple years ago. But always going to be mindful because, as more and more of this technology gets pushed out, we want to make sure it works, make sure it's not violating privacy rights as well. Certainly cybersecurity, major issue whenever this technology is deployed too.
And of course, we have that recent study on cybersecurity and ELDs, so definitely a hot topic.
Doubt.
Let's go on to another one of our topics today. The state of Florida's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles recently asked FMCSA for an exemption from some of the rules surrounding testing for new commercials driver's license applicants. What specifically was Florida asking for, Jay?
Yeah, this was an exemption from the CDL skills testing regulations requiring the three-part CDL skills test to be administered in the proposed order. And you've got the order of pre-trip inspection, basic vehicle control skills, and the on-road skills test. And you've got to complete that 1, 2, 3. Florida wanted to have an exemption where even if an individual failed the first part, they could continue with the test and then come back later to complete the part that they failed. So right now, if you fail the first part, the skills test stops right there. You got to come back later and start all over. Florida wanted to kind of have some more flexibility in the order that individuals completed the test. They cited that, keep in mind here, Florida is a third-party skills testing state. A lot of their skills tests are conducted by third-party testers. So they thought, given the discretion for those testers, that if they continued on testing, even if they failed one part of the test, would be more timely, more flexibility not only for the testers but for the drivers as well. FMCSA this week has denied that exemption, really mindful of the safety concerns that kind of rearranging the order of the test could have an impact on.
It's kind of interesting to me. I would imagine, or I could see motor carriers, for example, or a CDL school wanting to do something like this. They have an interest in that.
Yeah.
But the state, it kind of struck me as curious. Did they list basically why it is that they wanted this or why they thought it was necessary?
Yeah, they thought it would, help reduce idling time. Testers would be allowed to continue the test, reduce that idling time, particularly, that pre-trip inspection is the most failed portion of the test. So it kind of really has testing capacity in mind was the reasoning behind the exemption. And I think as we've pointed out historically, and, FMCSA has said it's not about convenience. It should be about safety. And I think we were, a little bit surprised to see FMCSA deny this exemption when just saw a proposal from FMCSA proposing to increase CDL flexibility when it comes to different training requirements. So they're upholding safety here, I think. Don't want to eliminate some of the standards that have been in place when it comes to CDL skills testing. I think it kind of runs in opposition to some of the recent proposals we've seen. I think since COVID, we saw a lot of waivers be implemented, and I think FMCSA wants to make some of those waivers permanent. But I think some of the proposals we saw recently really raised some safety concerns, especially removing requirements for a CDL holder to accompany a permitted holder in the front seat, waiving 14-day periods for permit holders to take their skills tests. So this one here, I think, upholds a lot of the safety and training that we think is very important for entry-level drivers.
Let's go on to our final topic here. This week is National Work Zone Awareness Week, and it's an annual event with what would seem to me to be a pretty obvious purpose. Can you tell us a little bit of the history of this event? How did it start? How long has it been going on? And what sort of things traditionally take place during this week?
Yeah, so this is a national event. DOT has done a large part of it. It was started by the Virginia Department of Transportation in 1997, went national in 2000. It's coordinated by the American Traffic Safety Services Association, but really has a lot of buy-in from DOT, FMCSA, Federal Highway Administration, and numerous state DOTs as well. And as you mentioned, really designed to increase work zone safety. When we have work zones across highways, we see increased number of accidents, more overrepresented for the commercial motor vehicle industry as well. So this week, April 15th through April 19th, FMCSA is really getting the word out to be cautious, be safe when encountering work zones throughout the country.
As people are hearing this, the week's getting toward its end, but we do have a little bit of time left here. Are there some specific events taking part on Friday especially? Yeah,
Friday's going to be a moment of silence, a tribute to those who have lost their lives in work zone crashes. And, FMCSA has put out quite a few different driving safety tips. Reduce your speeds, pay attention to signs and signals, be prepared to stop or slow down, research, maybe find an alternate route, certainly avoid distractions behind the wheel. So again, a big safety push to improve work zone safety.
Okay, well, we're out of time, Jay, but thank you very much for all the information. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've been talking with OOIDA Director of Federal Affairs, Jay Grimes. And folks, if you want to keep up on regulatory issues as the news comes up, you can always do that through the website landline.media. Again, that website, landline.media. We'll be back in just a moment with more news and information. Please stay with us through a short commercial break. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
Firestone tires are for more of everything. With more durability for more miles and more confidence in your fleet. Firestone's tested tires help fleets save with value where it matters most. Find your local Firestone dealer today at firestonetire.com/dealer.
When it's time to overhaul your truck engine, help protect it by insisting on a genuine Vibertech TVD crankshaft damper. Heavy duty, absolute premium quality, and they're made right here in the USA. Find a dealer at vibertechtvd.com. It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now, welcome back. The road to becoming a truck driver isn't always a straight path. For some, it takes a while to get there. Brett Robertson, who is a member of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, says he dreamt of being a truck driver at a young age, but that the family business was what he initially ended up doing for many years until one day he decided to make a change. He joins me now. Brett, what is it you do in trucking?
Yeah, I go all over. I do a step deck, and I just haul different, like vehicles, equipment, different stuff like that, oversized loads.
Where do you live?
I live in Indiana, in Lanesville, just right outside of Louisville.
Okay. Now, you were in a very different profession before you got into trucking. Tell me what that was.
Well, I was a funeral director and an embalmer. What it was my folks were in the funeral business, and I was kind of like, kind of forced into it, as a kid. And I did that to about 15 years when I had small children, and I've always wanted to drive a truck. And my uncle was a truck driver, which he retired from Yellow Freight, and, years ago, but I always used to go with him some during the summer when school was out, riding in the truck, and I just loved, being in the truck. And I always said that was something I wanted to do. And then when my kids got old enough to be okay on their own, that's when I got into trucking.
Wow. So you grew up with your parents in the funeral business. What was that like?
It was, you were on call 24/7. You couldn't have a life, really. You were basically a doctor. You had to be on call 24/7. When people invite you out for a cookout, and people were having a beer or two, you could not drink because you're on call. So, it was rough. It was very rough. And you were pretty much married to the funeral business. I didn't get to see my kids much at all.
How did you deal with that, with the difficult situations? And, I assume you can only desensitize to so much in those situations.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it was very stressful, and very depressing, and it was hard. It was very hard, but it's just something. After a while, when you go to embalming school, you have to take counseling classes to learn to deal with stress. Also, how to talk to families, how to, talk to them in a way that it does not disturb them emotionally. So you have to go to counseling classes, business classes. You have to, do chemistry and all this other stuff. It's a lot into it with the funeral services. And it's not as many people getting into it, just like trucking, basically. It's hard to find good help this time of day and people to stay in this type of work.
Yeah, it seems it would be a wide skill set you would need. Like you said, there's science to it, and then there's, of course, the emotional aspect of it with families and everything.
Right. Now, I've known several people that I went to school with. Their families owned the funeral home, and about 95% of them do not stay into it because they're kind of like forced into it. And a lot of the mom and pop funeral homes are going corporate wise now, which they're selling out to them because it's hard to find the help that they need. But, and then a lot of cremation has come into aspects. It's just like, with the trucking industry. The freight's up one time, it's down the next, and it's just like the funeral business. A lot of people are going to cremation, which is cheaper, and you don't see a lot of people doing the traditional funerals anymore.
Mm-hmm. So you're in the funeral business, and then when does the decision come that you're like, I want it? Because you said you dreamed of being a truck driver, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. It was Christmas Day. There it was, the kids there opening gifts. Santa Claus brought to them, and then the phone rings, and I had to leave. And I stayed at the funeral home all day long to make sure everything was good with that family, and trying to get the obit to the newspaper in time before their cutoff time. And I didn't get to see my family until later that night. And I told myself then, okay, it's time to give this up.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what did the process look like of getting into trucking?
Well, at first, after I went to trucking school, of course, you got to go with people that, hire students. It was kind of hard to find, but I did find a career with Howard Transportation based out of Laurel, Mississippi, which they haul transformers for all the power companies, and they make transformers for the power companies. So I worked there for 5 years. Actually, I drove for them for 3.5 years. And then after that, I went into the office as a dispatcher for a year. And then after that, they put me into safety, which I was monitoring the ELDs, teaching new drivers how to do the ELDs, helping them with orientation and different things like that.
How long have you been a truck driver?
I've been truck driving for about 6 years now.
Okay. And do you feel like there were any skills or lessons you learned in the funeral business and as a funeral director that's helped you in this career?
Yeah, I mean, it has. I mean, because now I'm doing the optional purchase to lease with this company here, which that's the reason I made the move, because I always wanted to have my own truck. Now the funeral business has taught me the business aspect of trucking. It's a lot of things that I still learn every day, but I really enjoy being on my own, and seeing the aspects of it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And I know in trucking you don't deal with a lot of people, but you would have people skills that would probably far exceed many of the truck drivers on the road. Talk to me about how that's been a benefit of, the many years that you had to deal with people in, different situations. How has that helped?
Oh, it's helped tremendously because, with just doing this as a lease purchase, I mean, we have customers calling us all the time saying, man, we would love to have Brett back. He was nice, polite, went beyond what he needed to do, and I always love to talk to people and know the way to talk to people without getting them upset. If somebody's having a bad day, sometimes you get to a shipper or receiver and they're like, oh my goodness, what do you got today for us, in a bad mood. Then I could just change their attitude where they're just basically laughing and we carry on.
That's a good skill to have for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever miss being in the funeral business, being a funeral director?
I do. I mean, I miss serving the families, miss some of the people that I dealt with at cemeteries, monument companies, different things like that. But they understand, and I mean, we're still good friends. We talk occasionally. And of course, now with social media, with Facebook and stuff like that, it's to keep up to date with everybody. It's pretty nice.
Now, kind of going back to, you talked about this at the beginning, but when you were a kid, when your uncle was a truck driver, is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about that. You said you got to go in the truck with him?
Yes. What he was doing, he was working for Conway at the time. So I got to go on the truck with him, like 1 or 2 weeks at a time with him because he was the over-the-road truck driver at the time. And, I enjoyed it back then, riding with him. And it just thrilled me, to see big trucks and, meeting all the different people at the truck stops and different things like that. It helped out tremendously to where I always wanted to go that path.
Did you ever think at that age, and how old were you during that?
I was probably around 12, 13.
Okay. Did you ever think then that trucking would be a possibility, knowing that you were, in the family business and that, might continue?
Well, I always thought that I was stuck at the funeral home, and the more and more I thought about it and the hours that you put in at the funeral home, you pretty much didn't have a life, to where this right here, you could take some time off and stuff like that. And family means a lot. I mean, because now, my 2 boys are grown. I actually got 2 grandchildren, and it's nice to actually have the holidays off and don't have to worry about the phone ringing saying, hey, you got to come into work.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say you enjoy most about truck driving?
I enjoy meeting the different people out, seeing different areas, because when I worked for the beginner for Howard, they pretty much ran the Northeast. And now I go all over. I just come out of California, and I mean, just seeing the beautiful area and seeing the U.S. And I just enjoyed meeting different people, talking with them, still try to help people out when I can. It's a real good profession, and I really enjoy it.
What advice would you have to somebody who is in a career that they're not really happy with and they want to make a change? That's a pretty big deal for, somebody who's in a career, especially a family business. What advice would you have for them?
Well, I would say to them that, hey, follow your dreams. Time is real short, and trucking is a good industry to get into because the supply and demand, if something in the store, it's touched by a truck. Everybody's goods has to be brought to them on a truck, and, it's decent money. Sometimes the pros and cons, of course, with everything. But after the outcome, I think you'll be very pleased.
That was OOIDA member Brett Robertson talking about how he went from a career as a funeral director to a truck driver. To listen to or share this story, you can visit landline.media. There, you'll find the latest news and updated information. You can also listen to the latest shows and read the current issue of Landline magazine. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, an international trade association representing the interests of independent owner-operators and professional drivers on all issues that affect truckers, you can visit ooida.com. There, you'll find information about membership, OOIDA's mission, and more. Those websites again are landline.media for the latest in trucking news and ooida.com to learn more about the association. For Landline Now, I'm Ashley Blackford. Stay tuned for more after this.
Capital Reman, your leader in remanufactured diesel engines and components, is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Let us help you avoid costly downtime and repairs by visiting capitalreman.com today. Use code OOIDA10 to receive your member benefits.
Get the most power performance out of your rig with Howe's Diesel Defender. It provides maximum lubricity and contains specialized IDX4 detergent to clean and prevent deposits and safely removes harmful water. Visit HowesProducts.com for more information.
Attention professional drivers, do you owe money to the IRS? Integrity Tax Relief Group frees drivers from IRS trouble. Call for help now, 855-976-4291. That's 855-976-4291.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Every week we check in with Marty Ellis, who drives OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker. It's no surprise to anyone involved in the trucking industry that we've lost more than a few companies over the past couple of years as economic conditions in trucking hit an extreme low point. But Marty has noticed something interesting that truckers should look for, some signs that may indicate the motor carrier you work for may be in trouble.
Carolina west to Denver, up to Bangor, west to Austin, coast to coast, sea to sea, sail on, sail on.
Well, Marty, how are you doing?
I am lovely, Mark, and you?
Doing very well. I guess you have some big plans for this coming up weekend. Where are you going to be?
Yeah, that'll be our next truck show for the year, and it's over at the Swamp East Truck Show in Sikeston, Missouri. Just off I-55. They are raising money for the Kenny Rogers Children's Center, and that center helps children with special needs, no cost to the families. They help developmental and have developmental and therapeutic services, and it seems like a good place to go visit and see what they do for the children there, and it's a good thing, a good cause to support. But we'll have the convoy and truck show Friday with the light show Friday night. And then Saturday, there's going to be food vendors on the truck show, and they'll be doing awards on Saturday afternoon about 3 p.m. is what they're planning on.
Okay. Well, and of course, if you're in Sikeston, Missouri, you are very close to Lambert's Cafe, which, of course, is the famous home of the throwed rolls. Now, are you going to make it down to Lambert's?
Probably not, but you just never know with me nowadays, so it could happen. I have gone there, and it's kind of neat. At first, when it's like, okay, hold it, throwed rolls through a restaurant, and it is kind of fun. It's the throwers. They must practice because they are really good.
Well, they used to hire kids from the local high school baseball team to throw the rolls, so they get their practice in before they do it with rolls. And of course, as I recall, I think that Lambert's has truck parking, so if folks on the way out of town or on the way into town want to stop by, I think that they can handle you.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of the things that are going on. And unfortunately, one of the things going on is going out, as in trucking companies that are going out of business. And I know that you kind of keep an eye on this, Marty, and you've seen some pretty common signs of this happening. Talk a little bit about that. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, we get a lot of folks come in and talk about some of the companies that are going out of business. And we're not just talking one truck owner-operators. We're talking some halfway decent-sized companies. And I always tell people to, really kind of keep an eye out what's going on in the company you're working with, whether you're a company driver or you're leased to a company. A lot of times there's telltale signs, and some of that, one of the telltale signs is when the company's fuel card doesn't go through. And so you have to wait around for quite a while to get it okayed to get fuel. That's one of the key things to be looking at. Also, if when there's times that there's no no paycheck when it's supposed to be a paycheck, or no settlement when there's supposed to be a settlement. And a lot of times there'll be excuses in that. And, but if it happens more than once, you may want to start thinking that this could be an issue, and you might want to start looking at your options. And then of course, some of the time they'll actually cut back on some of the pay to start cutting costs. They also tend to start cutting out some of the maintenance and maybe extending certain increments that they normally would maybe change the oil at, let's say, 30,000 miles. Now they're pushing it to 40 or 45,000 miles to help save a little bit of money.
Yeah, and of course, things are rough out there right now, so this does seem to be happening a little more frequently than it has in the past, isn't it?
Yeah, and, anytime during the downturns, this, we see this, especially postponing things that need to be fixed on equipment. And so it is definitely one of those telltale signs. But I also want to say, look, if you are an owner-operator and you're struggling and you start yourself putting some of this stuff off, you might have to step back and really take a good look at your operation and see what you can do to change things up.
There we go. Well, and of course, that's the bad side, how to tell if you might be losing your carrier. But there's also a thing of trying to find a good carrier to run for. And you ran into a company that was providing a list of good companies to drive for, and they named one kind of their top thing. Tell us which carrier that is, and a little bit about the company that rated that.
Yeah, it's the Carrier's Edge, and they provide online driver training for the trucking industry. And it named K&J Trucking out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as the best fleet to drive for in its small carrier category. And I know the folks at K&J always had a lot of respect for them. They're a great family. I really like their integrity that they have. I've worked with them through the convoy. I have friends that drive for them. I have friends that are leased to them. And I'm glad that they picked them, because I too have told people if they want a good carrier in that area that go talk to Shelley there at K&J.
Well, fantastic. And it's nice to be able to say something about who is a good carrier for a change, isn't it?
It is great. Yep.
Well, we got about 2 minutes left here, Marty, and there was one other topic that I definitely wanted to get to, and that is you were saying something about birds and trucks, and I'm afraid this is going to be one of those things that might involve the windshield. Is that what we're talking about, or is it something else involving our feathered friends?
Well, no, it's basically, birds meeting their demise with trucks. And I just read the article about the turkey coming through the windshield of a gentleman's truck, and he got hurt seriously. And it's like, wow, not just some scratches. And so it's amazing what those our flying friends can do as far as damage goes to the trucks. I had a friend that just hit a pheasant. Same way it broke the windshield, and one of the slivers of glass got embedded into his arm, so he was okay, but he thought to himself, gosh, I'm sure glad that it didn't go into my eye or something. So there's a lot of damage that can happen. I had one on my international that I drove, and it hit the sleeper where the sleeper comes out, and I mean, it was a loud racket. And when I pulled over, here's a dent the size of a football. And of course, I have to tell my boss, no, really, it was a bird. So it was a good conversation about it. And, after looking at, okay, there's no scrapes or nothing. So it's not like I ran into a tree or something. So they were happy to hear that, but they had never seen a bird do that kind of damage.
Yeah, we've heard about it over the years. It does happen. Well, Marty, we're starting to run out of time here, and just wanted to know if there were any final words you wanted to pass on to people before you ride off into the sunset for the week.
Yeah, I'll be off the road for a little bit with the board meeting coming up, so I can talk to the folks that come in for that. All our board members, in the trucking industry, they have different ideas. So that'll be a lot of fun. And just remember, guys, be kind to one another out there and give that guy next to you a break.
Brothers of the highway, children of the wind.
Once again, that was Marty Ellis, who drives OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker. You can find Marty's next stop on our show and every day at our website, landlinenow.com. That includes truck stops, truck shows, and other special events across the country. That's our program for today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Rettig, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome.
And I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us! Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.